Gary Kimball.
Sorry about
Gary
that.
was no problem. Gary was a former journalist who went in-house to PR and then worked for a very large regional bank as their VP of communications for quite a while. And then when they went through some financial restructuring, he decided he no longer wanted to be at the whim of corporate overlords and started his own agency. I joined him 13 years ago, 13 years ago this July. And
Wow.
uh, I bought him out. I became a partner in 2015, and then I bought him out in 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All
So I
right.
used to
Yeah.
tell people I was Gary's retirement plan. We had mutually assured destruction because he couldn't retire without me, and I couldn't start my own thing without him. So, he was the best last boss I ever had. I'm eternally grateful to him.
So I interview a lot of people, and the way that the process works with Dory Magazine, I get flooded with them,
I'm
and
sure.
so a few of them that I go through, and I review all of them, and a few of them stand out, and I remember yours now distinctly. And
Thank
so,
you.
if you don't mind, and just for the purpose of time, what's your hard stop?
I've got till 11:30. I can go a little longer if you need me to, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask some questions, and I want to go a little bit general just because of your experience, and
Sure.
just shoot off the hip. Whatever you want to share is fine. What has been your biggest challenge and struggle as you took over and kind of took over the lead?
No one tells you all the dirty little administrative things that you're going to have to take over as a business owner versus being. I was vice president of the company. I was handling operations, managing the staff, but I wasn't overseeing the QuickBooks element of accounts payable and receivable. I was not involved in all of the very many insurance policies you have to have as a business owner to make sure that you are offloading risk. Um, I had not dealt with the payroll company directly before, so it was a lot of minutia. I'm very fortunate that we had continuity with our operations manager. She continued on and is still with us today. So
Mm-hmm.
she's been a tremendous help. But what I have found, you go from the guy who's doing to the guy who has to help other people do. And that's a tough transition
Yeah.
because now your sleeves aren't rolled up as far. You don't have your hands in the cookie jar. I can use a dozen cliches, but you're not as close to the work because you're trying to make sure you're clearing the field so that they can be successful on the team. So it's a lot more management, a lot less doing. And
Right.
I've always been the guy that does. So that was probably and continues to be my biggest challenge. I've got to learn to, uh, let others do the things that I would like to do while I do some of the things that I didn't know I'd have to do and maybe don't like as much, but they're important to keep the business running.
So which
That's probably
specific
too vague, but
well, no, actually, it's fine, and it just leads me to ask you, like, of all the things that happen to leaders as they grow and their organization scale, there's always this like unknown thing that happens where you have to learn new capabilities that didn't exist because now you've grown and now you're being thrown into a situation where you have to do certain things that you didn't do before. What's one of the capabilities that you had to learn how to do, and like how did you do it? Like how did you learn how to do it?
uh, probably the biggest is more on the business side of things. Everything from projections. I used to think that there was this magic rubric that at some point someone was going to let me into the room and say, "Here's how this is done." That's not true. I've spoken to bankers, I've spoken to accountants, I've spoken to lawyers, I've spent a lot of money on consulting fees, and it's your best guess. And learning to develop the confidence as a business owner to be secure in that best guess versus uh, before I thought, well, someone's going to tell me I'm going to gain this knowledge. I'm a former journalist. So in my world of journalism, you would go find the facts, someone would relay those facts to you, you'd verify them, and then you were solid. There, as a business owner, you have to create those facts. You have to build your own confidence, and you've got to say, I've got this. And learning to trust yourself on those decisions, whether it's with projections, whether it is with setting pricing for your customers, whether it is, you know, deciding which insurance policy and endorsements are best to protect the organization. You can get all the consultants in the world to tell you, but at the end of the day, the decision is yours. And when you've got a number of folks on payroll who depend on you making the right decisions, that's a completely different mindset from being a manager in the business. You're now more invested, and now everybody is hoping that you're making the right decisions. So those things periodically keep me up at night, but it's gone
Uh,
well. I had great mentoring from Gary. I've worked with a number of really good consultants who have helped guide me and shape my view of how I want to lead the agency. And we're what, almost 3 years in to me owning the business, and I feel like I'm coming into my own.
and how many people are on your team?
We have 10 in-house staff, and then we have a number of freelancers that we employ, on an as-needed basis. I use the Liam Neeson line. They have a particular set of skills, and we apply them accordingly.
Tell me what your biggest leadership challenge is with your team.
Scaling, to be perfectly honest. We're growing, which is a great problem to have, but it is a problem to be managed. So figuring out, and we've just in the last probably 7, 8 months, I've figured that out. But I really was looking at the business going, how in the world do we scale to provide the skill, the talent, the resources necessary for our clients without breaking the bank and without getting ahead of the business coming in? Because the struggle with most agencies is, and you see this with the big agencies all the time, they scale up for a project, they hire all these people, and then the project falters, goes away, doesn't pan out, and then they're laying off people. And usually they end up laying off more people than they brought in. So it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And really ensuring that we don't fall into that trap has been the biggest challenge to figure out, and we've kind of mastered it now. And I don't pretend that that is purely from my genius. I again have relied on far smarter people than I to advise me, and we've figured out a model that works. It's allowed us to take on quite a bit more work at the beginning of this year.
So I hear that and I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
I kind of classified that as more of like the entrepreneur challenge. When I mean leadership, I mean like you got a team of 10 people that are in-house that are reporting to you, right?
Yes.
And being a leader is not easy. And
No.
most people hate their job because they don't think they have a good leader who's kind of, running the show. When you think of leadership on your team, when you
Mhm.
think about the dynamics, the communication, the meetings, the solving problems, the empowering your team so that you can scale and have leaders build other leaders, where in that world do you really focus time and effort to try to make yourself better? And like, what are some of the challenges that you deal with that come off the top of your head?
Where I focus is trying to find people that I feel are smarter than I am. I Having worked in the agency environment in prior iterations, I know that it's a world of ego. Everyone wants to take credit, everyone wants to be seen. I'm not wired that way. And I'm not saying that that makes me better. I'm not your typical agency fit. Um, I want the agencies to succeed so that the good people that I work with can be successful and have good lives. It's kind of the model I think of is it's work to live, not live to work. And so I really focus on the individuals, their character, their skill set. If I can bring in good people, smart people who can contribute to the agency, it makes my job easier, number one. Number two, I look at my job as I've got to clear the red tape so that these smart people that I've hired can be successful. I think there's a Steve Jobs quote about uh, it makes no sense. This is not verbatim, but it makes no sense to hire good people and then micromanage them and tell them what to do. I'd rather hire smart people and have them help us adapt what we do to be better. So that's really where I spend a lot of my time. It's my time is spent on finding the right talent, bringing them in. We are laser focused on onboarding to the point where it's probably, I've had folks tell me who've been with us for several years that those first month, 2 months, 3 months, they felt like it was a little boring because everything was going so slow. But then when we took the training wheels off in month 4, man, things just took off and they were grateful for the very slow and methodical approach because it saved them a lot of fail fast time. So that's in terms of a leadership challenge, it's finding those people, and they are hard to find. They really are. Mentoring them, onboarding them, and really making sure that they have what they need to be successful. Because to your point, um, if you have folks who think the leader you know, sucks for lack of a better term, um, they're not going to do their best. So I feel that the best thing a business of our size can do is to really invest in the people, give them the tools they need, make it financially beneficial for them to be here. And to do that, we have to be successful. Um, but, you know, if you treat your employees correctly, if you empower them to have a sense of ownership about the work that they will take very good care of your clients. And we just had a call with a client 2 nights ago. They're out in California, and we got on the call, and the first thing the owner of the business said, and this is not an exaggeration, I'm not prone to hyperbole. He said, Rod, I want to congratulate you. He said, your people really care about my business. And he said, you've got smart people doing good work. He goes, I just wanted you to hear from me how very pleased I am with everything that's going on. And he goes, hang on to these people, they're good. That that's the highest compliment I can get as a business owner.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. What would you say is your leadership team's biggest leadership challenge as a team in order to grow?
Uh, Making sure that we are communicating clearly with the team, making sure that they understand why we have processes and do things a certain way, and making sure that they feel confident and comfortable coming to us and saying, I don't think we're doing this right, or this thing that you're doing, I have a better idea. Or in some cases, coming to us and saying, I'm really uncomfortable with how this was handled.
How
We
do
have
you
a
build that
vi-
trust? How do you make it comfortable for them to do that? Because most people are really
um,
scared.
yeah, and honestly, it's a frank and honest conversation that um, I try to have, and I think to a great extent we've been successful, and over the years, in some cases, maybe not so much. But I tell people, look, you're going to make mistakes. I'm never going to judge you for having made an error. What I'm going to judge you for is if you didn't come to us and have an honest and forthright conversation. The other thing I do is I make mistakes too. I'm a human being. I do share them with my team. And I tell them that I've made this mistake or this error because, quite frankly, if they can see that I am willing to be vulnerable, if they can see that I am willing to say, look, I didn't get this right and it created an issue, what I hope it does is foster an openness to do the same thing. And I've seen it happen. I've had people come to me and say, I don't want to offend you. I'm like, I don't need to hear that. Just tell me what the issue is. And they'll tell me and we'll have an honest conversation. And at the end of the day, it benefits the agency. I don't have enough of an ego. When I went into journalism, I was told two things. Your career will be dictated by others. And if you're here to make any money, haha, you're in the wrong room. So I never went into my professional life going, I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to make a ton of money. That was so I didn't have that mindset. I still don't. I want to make a comfortable living, but being the boss doesn't really drive things for me, and making a ton of money doesn't. But if I can enjoy myself, if I can work with people that I spend a lot of time with these people, even though we're remote, I want to enjoy that time. I want to work with people who I get along with. I want to be able to laugh because our job is always what have you done for me lately? And it can be very stressful in that regard. So I want to be able to find laughter where we can. I want to be able to have fun. And I want people to feel like this is a great place to work. Because if again, it all comes back to I'm not being altruistic. If they feel like this is a great place to work, they're going to hang on to that with both hands. And to do that, they've got to be really successful for the clients. And that's that's kind of been the challenge of making people, giving people the license to come to us and say, I don't think this is right, or we can do this better, or, I didn't like the approach here. And we've had some of those conversations and we've course corrected as a result. And, in some cases, we haven't always agreed, but I want people to know that they're heard and that it's taken into consideration.
Very cool. Do you ever spend a lot of time thinking about the vision and being able to craft some sort of a vision that's more of a shared common purpose for your team? That like, if someone were to ask your team, like, what's the vision at your company? Like, do you guys work on that? Is that something you focus on, or is that not something just because everyone kind of knows and has an understanding of what you guys do?
I'd love to tell you that I have this grand vision. Um, I want to make this a great place to work. That if that is the extent of my vision, that's the extent of it. We really spend our time focusing on the meeting the vision of our clients. What do they want to achieve? It's the classic story of the shoemaker's children. Everyone in town has shoes, but the shoemaker's children have none. It's not to say that we don't have a vision. We do, which is to do great work with really good people and to have fun while we're doing it and be successful. But in terms of like this grand vision statement that lives on our website and it's part of PowerPoint presentations, um, I'm more focused on working on the clients and helping them, um, and giving our team license to say, hey, we can make this place a better place to work. Perfect example. One of our new hires, a gentleman we hired in February, came in. We were talking to him about the onboarding process. And, one of the questions he asked, he said, do you offer life insurance for employees? The question had never come up. So I told our operations manager, I said, call our insurance company, find out what's it going to cost. And they came back, the number was very reasonable. I thought it's going to make this guy happy. It's going to be a benefit. We've got one or two folks who are starting families. And I thought, this is an easy fix. This is a low value item. It fits that vision of a great place to work, good people, having fun, and it's not going to cost us that much. That was the added benefit. So we did it. I think if you want to talk about a vision, I think it's is this someplace where people want to work? Um, I I believe, and I've been told that all of our team members feel that that is the case. So if that's the best I can do in terms of a vision for our company, I feel that that's a win.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a win. That's really cool. How do you guys get new clients? Are you have a salesperson, or do you guys? How does it work?
That that would be me. I hustle like crazy. So it is going to industry conferences, whether it's in the legal space, the insurance space, in the tech space. It is doing our own owned marketing, putting out thought leadership content on LinkedIn, on our blog, things of that nature. And it's a lot of it is one of the reasons that the business is still Kimball Hughes PR, or Kimball Hughes Public Relations, is because Gary spent 25, 26 years building this business. His reputation is considerable. We still get inbound calls asking, can I talk to Gary? I have a need. We say, well, Gary's retired, but we'd love to help you. I kept that name because that Gary's reputation preceded him in the industry. He was a very smart guy, is a very smart guy. He was very thoughtful in how he worked, and people appreciated working with him. And I've tried to model a lot of what I learned from him, but that new business is a combination of a lot of inbound referrals, as well as just getting out there and a little old fashioned shoe leather.
Who's your target audience?
We do a ton of business in the insurance space. So we work with, and I know that to the casual observer, when you hear insurance, first of all, your eyes glaze over. And second of all, you think home, life, and auto. There is an entire universe of insurance that makes home, life, and auto look like a very modest, small, remote corner of the insurance industry. So I would say probably about 80, maybe even 85% of our business is insurance. We do a lot in the technology space, sometimes overlapping with insurance, but not always. We do quite a bit of work in the professional association space. We represent a lot of professional associations across multiple industries. And we do a lot of work in the legal space. So there are others that we take on here and there, but those are more or less the main drivers of our business.
Very cool. Very cool. So, well, listen, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of information, a little deep dive into your
Sure.
featured interview. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And just give me
Thank
one
you.
minute. I'm gonna just go ahead and stop this real quick. One sec.